Tinsley sends it to the outside. He can't get there. Kevin King is going to win the Bar Visual FTF Cup Series.
Into the lead. Bud gets wrecked in front of the pack. He saves it. 3-4 wide as they come to the white flag.
Here comes Vargas down on the apron. They are 5 wide. Ian Plash will win it at the line. Is this package? Oh, there goes Jordy Lopez Jr. That's your race leader. Caution flag is out.
Still no one willing to give up as they are going to be dead even off of the first chicane.
Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas. Oh, get your front there.
He's got it. He's got it. Get there. No.
Endless in.
After a busy time last time out, the top drivers for WINSTEL competition have made their way to the state of California to Fontana. See how the 8th round of the season would go. This is WINSTEL 2003 series action. It's here on FTFGG. Good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth is Derek Watson, Zach Johnson in the producer's seat as we get all set to see 35 drivers make their way around this 2-mile facility. Lots to talk about, Derek. But these drivers are prepared for tonight's 2-mile intermediate.
Yeah, lots to talk about during the broadcast, JP, as you said. But yeah, this is a super speedway, 2 miles or bigger, a track that's changed names a few times. So we'll see how this goes. If these drivers are ready to handle this in this Gen 4 car, this could be a handful out of turn 2.
Let's take a look in turn at how these drivers will start off tonight from Fontana, California. We get set to go racing. On the pole tonight, it's Fred Jones. Tower Head starts on the pole once more tonight. Tower Head looking to lead them to the green alongside Jose Solis Jr. Thomas Lewandowski starts in third. He was the last driver to take a time in qualifying. Alex Konix in fourth. Sean Pellick starts alongside Anthony Krobach in the battle of the Chevys in row 3, with Christian Budd and a fellow Ford, Ryan Doucette, in row 4. James Holzer starts in row 5. Dylan Roberts rounds out the whole top 10.
Move on to P11 with Christina Ryan in the 4 car, with Timothy Latham on the outside. And then Ali Osman in that 5 with Brennan McGee in the 9 on the outside. Gabriel Mauricio in the 40 with Nicholas Doucette in that DuPont car in 24 on the outside. Parker Alexander and Emily Howe in row 9. And then Ben Hancock and Kyle M. Benson round out row number 10.
Chris Champo starts 21st alongside a fellow Dodge, Steve Gouthier, in the 22. Jonathan Hernandez starts 23rd. Jacob Bradley, the top 24 in the 50 car tonight. Matt Skipper in the Cheerios Liberty car starts 25th with Philip Snipes 26th. Evan Locke and Brenton Cruz Montsevice, the top 28. TJ Crampton starts 29th in the Net Zero Pontiac. Alex Bates in the Vaseline Pontiac rounds out the top 30. The rest of the drivers in the field: Lavik Zire starting 31st, Tyler B. Murray, Shane Ward making the start tonight in the 37. 2 drivers did not take times. Hayden Aripez and Ross Lineback will start at the tail of the field. With that, the drivers getting all situated and ready to go. 45 laps on the docket tonight here from California. 90 miles total. In turn, 55% the fuel limit. Drivers have unlimited tire sets available if necessary. The track temperature 85 degrees Fahrenheit, air temp 72. Derek, your keys to victory if you want to win at this racetrack tonight.
The key to victory tonight, JP, will be tire management. There's multiple lines in this track, multiple ways to run this track. Not overdriving your corners and having more tires will probably be your key to victory as these laps wind down tonight.
Tower Head, who led much of the way in the point standings prior to a few weeks ago, 4th in the standings entering today, starts alongside the 5th best driver of the points, Jose Solis Jr., to start things off from California. We're glad to have you with us. This is round 8 of WINSTEL competition. Green flag is that we're underway from Fontana. Three wide of the heart of the pack as Jose Solis Jr. leads them off a turn 4 to start the action. Dylan Roberts up the middle, able to clear on by James Holzer. Anthony Krobach keeping the pressure up from the outside. But Solis Jr. taking the lead from Head to start off the race.
Well, JP, we said there were multiple lines to race here, and look at your screen. Top of the track, bottom of the track, middle of the track. There's not a space here that's not covered at some point in this grid, I don't think.
Already some battling with Konix on the inside. Lewandowski preferring the middle top lines. Sean Pellig choosing the middle seam on top of the seams, in fact. And the seams here, keep in mind, are at least a couple feet wide with how the pavement is here on the surface. That can cause some tricky moments if you're on those seams.
It can cause a tricky moment. And the other thing that can cause a tricky moment as well, JP, and I want to see if it happens during this race, there's nothing stopping those drivers from using that flat part of the front straight to get a little bit more speed out of the car. That re-entry, though, that's the tricky part.
That's if someone wants to let you back up from the flat onto the banking for the corner.
Yeah, that's a real challenge. You get yourself stuck down there, and your only choices are to lift or, I guess, bump doors and hope they move sometimes. And you're supposed to do the first one, but that doesn't always happen.
Christian Budd, meanwhile, in the backdrop there, looking to make the pass on Ryan Doucette on the high side. Draft here also pretty significant. Budd able to get by with the last sniff of the draft before the outside. Doucette making the charge again inside.
Now, typical, thoughts of NASCAR racing or stock car racing, JP, the less you can turn the wheel, typically the better you save your tires. There's some other things involved, but that's a typical rule. So these drivers like the 8 car who are riding that high lane all the way around the track, they're probably saving a bit more tire, but they're just getting past so easily on the inside right now that I don't know, if it's going to work out, as we see an onboard here, the 24.
This is Nicholas Doucette, mid-pack in final practice, mid-pack in qualifying, but he is top of the pylon in regards to points entry today, already up 5 spots. Took the points lead from James Holzer by 15 points after the conclusion of last round at the Paperclip Martinsville Speedway. David Mauricio head slowly shooting the top 5, Derek.
Sorry, I was just saying, you said top of the pylon. He was top of the lane there, JP. There was not a lot of room between him and that wall coming out of the corner there. But now he's all the way back to the bottom of the track. So obviously he's moving around and trying to see what works and what doesn't.
To the bottom, trying to get around Roberts. Roberts fully gets single file. Settles back in line behind Krobach, and there's the move back to the bottom. And that's always a tricky thing when it comes to drivers, even with the most modern day race cars here at this track. Some say the bottom's good for the saving, then you move up. Some say they prefer the high line in general, but you have to be careful the right front. There's so much discussion leading to those different lines you talked about.
Yeah, and there's a lot of discussion. And ultimately, what's going to be the most important for a race of this length, JP, is where are you comfortable? Are you comfortable in the bottom? Are you comfortable in the top? That's where you're going to want to run. Where's the drafting lane? That may help determine some of it. But sometimes that's more important. Man, we are 3 wide, 2 deep back here in the middle of the field. Oh, we got someone loose. They're okay. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's just, it's all about where are you comfortable. Sometimes that's more important to a driver versus what works, because when you're comfortable, it just seems easier.
The driver you mentioned getting loose, well, it may have gotten some help. Hearing Timothy Latham was sideways into turn 1 off of the nose of James Holzer for a moment. Able to save it though. In fact, he didn't lose any spots outside of the one to Holzer from the slide. So we still keep going. Meanwhile, near door-to-door contact, that's Ali Osman, Gabriel Mauricio.
Beautiful onboard here of this number 9 machine, that Dodge car. Going to cut down on the inside of Mauricio in 40 in that Coors Light car. Going to try to clear him out of the corner. Not going to get there. And needs to pull back in line here. There you go.
And Mauricio has been very impressive this season so far. He had some good consistency after he was a part of the chase for the Cup, the WINSTEL Cup in 2006. He's been able to carry the momentum forward as Osman looks to carry the outside momentum to keep him alongside. This time they switch lanes.
You saw it, JP, in the back of the screen here, out of that corner. The one car, Parker Alexander, was way to the outside. Not sure if he was fighting the car or if that's where he wants to be. Let's see if we can find him. He's back down to the middle here. Parker represents Steve Park, who took the pole of this race 23 years ago. Did not fare well, so Parker's already lasted longer than Steve Park did. When Parker got out of turn 2, he lasted longer than Steve Park did.
Yeah, we were talking about this before today's race, and that's the interesting part about being up at the front. Sometimes there's the bad luck, some smoke being kicked up the racetrack up in front. That's Brennan McGee nearly sliding it around to the 9 from 17th.
Yeah, as you said, we were talking about the 2003 race. Of course, a lot has changed since that race, not just in our lives, but even this racetrack. It's, I guess, now gone through 2 name changes since that moment, JP. There might be some debate on what it's called today. Apparently, it used to be called Auto Club Speedway. At this time, it was California Speedway. So a lot has changed. And, of course, now this config is dead as of, I guess the end of the NASCAR race.
Now, the reason trying to invert from the last name utilized, the name actually expired for this racetrack, the naming license agreement, on March the 15th. Technically, the racetrack has no name. NASCAR websites utilizing Next Gen California, for example. Of course, that's part of the new racetrack format. It's talked about with the short track layout that will see this track no longer utilized in the real world. Meanwhile, drivers utilizing all the lines still. Ryan Doucette, Thomas Lewandowski side by side in the battle with the Fords. Christian Bunn using the third line to hold off Dylan Roberts. Pearl back on the bottom. Nicholas Doucette on the top. Everybody starting to get loose though.
Speaking of lines, the one that I'm surprised by so far, look at the 77, the front of this view here. He was getting so low in those corners, JP. He was almost hitting the white line. See if he gets down there again. That seems to be the lowest anyone's getting that I can find so far, and he trucks all the way out.
That's not as easy as it looks either, because if you send it too aggressively to the bottom, clip that apron, force you off the gas.
Yeah, and once you're off the gas like that, what happens is you end up getting run over by the person behind you, not because they're being aggressive, but because of the speed that you're losing lifting to save that car up the hill. You'll get run over and spun out. So that's a great job by Doucette holding that line here. As we see now the 17, 24th, and 97 here. We'll talk about that. We can talk about it. That's our real-life race winner for this race. That's not the 97. That's the 21. I apologize.
Yeah, Philip Snipes in 33rd.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, this is the 97 you're talking about, albeit these four you're seeing here along with Shane Ward have lost the draft by more than a second and a half.
So this is technically a super speedway. We don't talk about it that way because when we think super speedway, we think of two tracks. We think of Dega and we think of Daytona. But even in a super speed like this, there is something you said for, listen, if that pack up there wrecks, we're back here. Maybe we luck out and we get around a few cars here. Being out of the pack can be fruitful unless this race goes caution free.
Still looking at some of the drivers throughout the pack. Amongst those, this 22 machine. That's Steve Gouthier back to 26. Now looking down the back straightaway for reference. A lot busier, to say the very least. Bud, alongside Nicholas Doucette. And one car has crashed down the back straightaway. No caution. We stay green. Matt Skipper is out of the race in the 43.
That's always hard to see from Matt. Matt has, at times, shown great progress in this league, and at times has some really rough races. So we'll see Matt come down pit road, and then there's someone else here.
Yeah, this is looking scheduled. Yes, it's Jacob Bradley, Brandon Cruz Monsivice, a little early.
It's a little early. It makes me wonder if they think 30 laps is the number. I would be hard-pressed, JP, to think I would want
15.
to...
The number's 15.
Well, I meant 30 to go. But yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 15 laps. The most of the leaders are now calling for pit stops. Solis Jr. is coming in this time by. He's bringing several with him. Solis Jr. nearly hits the wall. Did he avoid the speeding penalty? It was close. Also in Ryan Doucette, Thomas Lewandowski, Anthony Krolbach, Emily Howe, and several others.
Well, this is where being in the back of that pack, maybe how some of these guys are turning that extra lap, JP, or maybe they were lifting throughout the run to stay in the draft, but yeah, this is interesting. I did not see pits coming this early. I apologize.
And just getting around the pit stop sequences allowed Alex Kovacs to close up. An early call for head. Kovacs trying to poke his way to the inside for the braking marks as they head their way to the brakes. Both of them nearly spin it head. And Kovacs barely gets below the speed limit as in comes Roberts and Doucette with them.
Now comes that awful moment in pit road, JP, that we've both been a part of, where both are trying to wonder if they're going to get pulled in their stalls with someone, lined up side by side like that.
Another move towards the front of the grid. Keep in mind, Towerhead has the furthest down of the boxes, so no major implications there. Evan Lockemonsto's trying to stretch it. They're pitting this time by. Sean Pellick yet to pit. James Holzer also yet to pit. Here come those out of the pit lane as they dive to the bottom. Sean Pellick coming down. Holzer stretching it.
Pellick's now on pit road. So Holzer must have figured out something the rest of them didn't figure out, JP, because he's still out there. So whether he just stuck in the draft and went 80% throttle, or I don't know, but he's still out there. And these guys all thought 15 was the number. He's now on 18. So he's better set up to have comfort at the end of this race.
That could be a major advantage indeed. Holzer calling for the pit stop this time. Lock, Zyre, Philip Snipes, Hayden Reapez also stretching as, oh boy, here come the leaders tower ahead. Having to go around with Brennan McGee. Holzer charges it into the pit lane. Holzer does get to the speed limit as the rest of the drivers zip on by. Keep in mind, when it comes to the 9 machine there, that is technically for position. You know why? They took 2 tires. The only driver in the top half of the field to take 2 tires.
Wow. I'm processing that. I'm silent. Sorry. I'm processing the idea of 2 tires at Auto Club or Fontana or California or wherever we are. I'm processing that thought, JP, and I would be nervous if I was in that seat.
3 wide behind, meanwhile. Into the mix of things, Emily Howe has now joined the fight for the lead group. Part of the undercut call. Thomas Lewandowski, high side, has to back up. Roberts closes the door. They close up to Brennan McGee as they pass on by some of the last to pit. This now for the battle for the top 5. Lavik Zyre, the last of those to pit, has peeled in. Roberts inside, looks around McGee and gets around him.
So something familiar to Super Speedway Race in 2003, JP. We have a DEI draft going on right here between the 8 and the 15, and they're marching their way towards the front right now.
Still trying to find their way around McGee. Right now, the net race leader is Solis Jr. by a sizable margin over Ryan Doucette and Tyler Head. 3 wide again, McGee up on the top. Lewandowski forces it up the middle. Inside goes Howe. Howe trying to clear on by. She rounds around the bottom with Lewandowski clearing by McGee. Those 2 tires are not working the greatest for McGee right now.
No, I would imagine they're not. That's a tough call. It's just a matter of temps being different. It's a matter of wanting, so many things. The left sides are wearing out here. It's hard to make 2 tires work. That's a late race call, in my opinion. Not a mid race call. I would be surprised if McGee doesn't end up regretting this decision here in 10 laps or so.
Coming up to halfway in a few laps time. Nicholas Doucette now looking to make the move too. Howe now boxing in. Lewandowski forcing him off the gas. Koenig's in. All this as well. They are about 3-4 seconds behind the leaders you just see. That's how big the advantage was for Solis Jr. and Doucette on their entries. Ryan Doucette specifically on a 1-lap undercut. They picked up 2.4 seconds. 3 wide yet again.
And it all happened so fast, JP. I'm going to go back to pit stops for a second. How impressive. Tyler Head and Jose Solis and a couple others saving that car on pit road entry, especially for Solis, who came in first, and to wiggle that car so hard. That was a great save, and one that could have gone really horribly for him and the rest of the field.
Take a look at Evan Locke, meanwhile, amongst those battling Ben Hancock. Some damage, something just happening here, Ring. These guys 28th and 29th, and it was out of turn 4. Ben Hancock had hit the wall.
There's Hancock up here on the outside. Nothing there.
It would be on the back bumper. See the curl right there? This is what we're talking about. This is how you have that.
Oh, that's everything we talked about 10, 15 laps ago, JP. The 6 had handling problems. He checked up or lifted, and the 25 ran him over. Now, luckily in this case, it's not a wreck per se. They didn't bring a caution out, but wow.
By the way, this is the reason of your only DNF so far, Matt Skipper.
Looks like, ow. It looks, go ahead.
Well, keep in mind, there's the angles of those safer barriers down there. It looks like he may have hit one of the jet outs. That's why he stopped so violently. Yep.
I was going to say, it looks like he was trying so hard to keep off the 97 out of that corner, JP, that he had the wheel pulled to the left. And then once they got out of the corner, just left he went. And, wow.
Now looking up at the front. Solis Jr. has led all but 4 laps so far. Ryan Doucette, though, had a really brilliant entry to be able to pick up the time he did, because he was a little bit behind the 29. Now he's only within half a second. We've seen this from Ryan Doucette before, though.
Yeah, we have seen this from Doucette before, where Doucette has made incredible comebacks and you know, done well. And right now, it's just got nothing but Solis in his sights, running a slightly higher line out of through the corners there.
Starting to lose a little bit of ground, actually. It's interesting to note, with the difference on the tires, the lead cars behind them are up to 0.2 of a second quicker right now. Can they catch him is the huge question, because again, they picked up 1 second by pitting 1 lap earlier, per lap.
Yeah, they picked up that time though, but what you do pick up, JP, by staying out is comfort of knowing that when these last laps are coming down to the end, you have more gas just by math than the drivers behind you or ahead of you. That's the comfort. That's the peace of mind of knowing what could happen here. And of course, that's all assuming we stay green. Still 20 laps to go. We've been green so far, but you know, anything can happen here. But if it stays green, those drivers who stayed out, Holzer and others, may have more comfort. And by the way, we're not too far from pit stops again for some of these guys if 15 is the number.
Battle of the Hendrick Motorsports machines is on. Nicholas Doucette now under attack by Sean Pellig. Pellig amongst those who stretched the furthest in this pack. In fact, he is the highest up in those on a 9-lap stint so far. Next back is Christian Butt in 10th. Like able to clear on by from the bottom, now up to a race high 5th position.
Beautiful battle of these Hendrick cars here, the 28, the 24 and the 48. I just combined them together. That's not how that works. Racing for this battle here.
I mean, technically the number kind of works like that. What's 24 plus 24?
48.
So yes, it does work some way.
I'm a commentator, Justin. I'm not a mathematician. Like a test I didn't study for.
Don't forget, Jimmy Johnson, he picked up the victory here in 2002. This racetrack. His home racetrack, in terms of state, by the way. And that kind of actually put him in the points championship battle for the most of the rest of that season in 2002.
That was a great season for Johnson that year. And of course, in 2003, still fared well. You know, obviously wasn't the point, you know, didn't win here. That was the 97, as we said, who won here back in 2003. Oh,
Caution!
It's going to be the 97, actually, come to speak of it. I saw him loose out of 4. I'm pretty sure that was. Yeah, 4.
Evan Locke also involved as our first caution of the night is out in WINSTEL action. And we'll have to check out the replay indeed, because this would be the second time Evan Locke's been in a crash in turn 4, this one of his own doing.
Oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah, just in inverse. Locke in the wall, now our car comes up.
Yeah, it's handling problems coming to bite some of these drivers, and once again we saw him check up. Look at the closing speed. That's the difference here. And as is customary with these Gen 4 cars, JP, it does not take a lot to get the back ends off the ground once they make contact here in iRacing.
Locke takes responsibility for the caution, and it comes just as the fuel window was about to open for the second final green flag pit stops. In turn, Jose Solis Jr., Ryan Doucette, Tyler Head, Dylan Roberts, Sean Pellig, the top 5 as they head their way to the pit lane, likely for the final time this race right here. Who do you think takes 2 is the question?
Not Brennan McGee.
Okay, outside of Brennan.
I'm sorry. I was being sarcastic, but honest. I don't think anybody. I think we're all going to go green here. I think people should have taken note of what Brennan McGee did. If you're in the back of the field, let me just pick a name at random here from the back of the field. If you're an Alex Bates in 25th, if you're an Anthony Krobach in 19th, sure, take the risk. If you're anyone up front, probably 10th forward. I think it's all 4 tires here.
Ryan Doucette misses his pit box as the rest of the drivers go off into the stalls. See which drivers come out with the 2-stop or which drivers go with the 4 tires. We have 2 tires for Steve Gauthier, 4 tires for most of the rest of the field here tonight. 2 tires, Thomas Lewandowski race off the line. Still goes to Solis Jr. over Lewandowski, Tyler Head in 3rd, and then 3 wide for 4th. An interesting decision from Ross Leinbach trying to get a lap led. He did stay out for this caution for now. However, they likely need a pit this time by. They only made 15 laps on field the last caution. Or the last run.
Well, the question now is, does this caution allow for enough fuel, given the fact that, you know, it seemed like in a lot of races in WINSTEL we have a green-white checker. Does this race allow for, or does the caution allow for enough fuel? I would think it would, but that is something to play. Maybe somebody wants to top off here.
I would be surprised if he stays out. There he is indeed. So Solis Jr. is still the race leader. But how does this work for Lewandowski, who's on 2? Is there enough grip in it? Now that everyone's an equal footing on at least a one side compared to him, how does Lewandowski play this?
I don't think there is a way to play it. I could be wrong, but I think after seeing what Brandon McGee had a hard time with, you know, on the last cycle, I don't know how Lewandowski plays it. You know, unless you're hoping from here that maybe we get a couple more cautions and it just you keep up front because of that. I don't know. I can't see it working. I'm trying not to sound negative and mean, but I just... Brandon McGee basically did free R&D for the rest of the league, Justin. I don't understand, you know, I mean, different drivers are different, but I don't know.
So it's Solis Jr., Lewandowski, top 2, Head, Pellick, Kolonix, Roberts, Nicholas Doucette, Emily Howe, Christina Ryan, Christian Budd, the top 10. Also on 2 tires, Steve Gauthier in 15th spot. That's it. Everybody else is on 4 tires. So Lewandowski trying to roll the strategy dice. Try and see if this becomes the night he puts the Wood brothers in victory lane.
So I guess we'll talk about it, since in case you're a new viewer to this league, 2003 rules says that all lead lap cars start single file to the outside. Any lap down cars that are they could start on the inside and race for their spot back. But we saw that work really well 2 weeks ago, Justin, where it felt like all the lap down cars kept racing ahead and earning laps back. Well, that won't happen until 1 to go here, and pace cars pulling down, so there aren't any.
Matt Skipper, the only driver laps down, and Skipper's out of the race. Green, green, green. 13 to go from Fontana. And launch for Solis Jr. Lewandowski under attack from Tyler Head. Here comes Sean Pelwick as well as they battle into turn 1. What did we say about that blueprint? Head getting loose in front of Lewandowski though. Here comes Pelwick for second. Kolonix looking to do the same on the bottom of the racetrack as well. 2 by 2, a couple rows deep.
And right now, even with the drafting line, this is making the life for Jose Solis a little better. Now, he is the car out front leading this drafting line, if you want to call it that. He is burning the most fuel, but as they're racing side by side and now 3 wide behind him, it's harder for them to get their perfect runs and to get up to him.
Lewandowski loose down out of turn 2. Pellig trying to hold off the battle for second. Kolonix still trying to fight to the inside of Tower Head, down to the inside of Pellig on the gas. Pellig able to get clear once again. Here it comes Head back on the run as they slide up nearly into the wall.
And you know, what a consistent and amazing season it has been for Tyler Head, Justin. You know, someone who I know you said you talked to a few weeks ago and said he wasn't sure how long he'd be relevant in this league and certain parts of the schedule would be rough for him, but week by week, even last week at Martinsville, very relevant and still up front every week.
Well, near contact though with Kolonix trying to keep it to the bottom of the racetrack with Pellig. Now to 2x2 with Kolonix. Now he gets in front of Kolonix to slam the door on the bottom. Kolonix to the middle. Roberts to the outside, looking at PL to the outside of the 32.
And right now, if I was Jose Solis, Justin, and I saw this happening behind me, I'd be maybe at 90% throttle. I'd be saving a little bit of fuel. I'm not convinced everyone is good for fuel after that pit stop, especially not the guy out front who has no drafting to help him.
Especially, though, with the 0.6 of a second gap, a huge bumper at a track that it's very critical to break the draft. Kolonix clearing on by Roberts. Here comes Nicholas Doucette now looking to join the fray again. Oh, and contact. Tower head set sideways, holds onto it. Now he looks for second despite the drift.
And look at that slide. That's basically a slide job of the 24. Dug into the inside, made the pass, and all the way back up the hill out of 4, Justin.
Under 10 to go, now 9 laps to go. Kolonix again trying to boost up the run. Here comes Nick Doucette.
Sorry, that was really close between the 24 and the 8. The 24 pulled it in front of him, and there was not a lot of space there for that to happen.
Peleg starting to pull in the gap to Solis Jr. Kolonix wanting to find a way to get to third. Nick Doucette backs it up on the high side. Head with a major squeeze on the PPI car. Oh, and Kolonix is loose. Kolonix saws the wheel and saves it.
It cost him a lot of spots here with 8 to go.
Is there enough time for Sean Peleg and company to get there? We'll see. Roberts still trying to find a way around Nick Doucette. 7.5 laps to go from California. Emily Howe now driving her way up to 6th. One of her best races of the year.
What chaos this is compared to last week when Zach Campbell led all the way and just dominated the field. So much excitement here, so much movement, so much passing. This is not over by any means.
Still a lot that could happen. Your biggest movers? Well, they're up at the front. Nick Doucette, Emily Howe up 12 spots. Howe looking to try and find a way up to Roberts. Kolonix has to peel back in. Here comes Christian Budd. Christina Ryan and James Holtz are also finding in the top 10 here.
I know we're in the midst of the battle right here. If we can talk about it real quick, though, we can go find the 21 car. Thomas Lewandowski is struggling, by the way. Did that 2-tire run back in 15th here and having a very hard time back in this field. So I think we've proven now twice that 2 tires is not the call.
6 to go meanwhile. Tower ahead. Now with some damage on that car. Trying to still hold off Nicholas Doucette. They've lost about a second to the race leader, Solis Jr. Nick Doucette to clear? No. Tower ahead keeps it up. Head just does not want to quit. Looks like Nick Doucette has it, though. Nick Doucette on the slide job. Kneeling to the wall. Here comes Head again. Five laps to go from Fontana.
You have to think eventually if these guys want to get there, they're being the front of the field, you need to get in line. I know it sounds like I'm talking about a super speedway, because I am. Get in line, chase down the driver in front of you, which is Peleg, and then fight it out if you want to.
And here's the major thing, you're right. In the aspect of if you fight, you lose ground. 3 wide, for example, Holzer trying to hold off Christian Budd and Christina Ryan. But you know who hasn't been fighting throughout all this? Caution is out. Now the fight is on.
Sorry, I said the flow.
It's Steve Gauthier, one of the 2-tire drivers. He's into Lubbock Sire as well for the yellow flag, our second of the night, and that may trigger point of no return GWC action in WINSTEL.
Going to trigger a lot of things, Justin. It's going to trigger some questions about who has enough gas. It's going to trigger if anyone thinks they want to go put new tires on and gain a bunch of spots if you're in the back of the pack. I don't know. Let's see what happens here.
Gauthier, the other driver on 2 tires. Running back around Ryan Doucette.
Oh. That's the unfortunate part right there. There's a lot of Xavier right here is going to get hit. Didn't see it coming. Thought they were clear. Had put it down in the grass to avoid it. That's maybe the most frustrating thing that can happen to you as a sim racer, is when you think you're clear, and then someone hits you. Oh, we got loose. Look at that. That was a great camera shot by Zach Johnson there, showing that off. He got loose out of that corner.
Collecting the 11 machine, the Brett Bodine racing car. We're on set our second caution flag of the evening. Still waiting to hear if this is a point of return or not. We likely will hit it. One to go next time by. Parker Alexander, Ali Osman, Ryan Doucette amongst those pitting. Everybody else stayed out. Although, while we showed the replay, Jose Solis Jr. and Sean Pellick both went through the grass as part of the fake-out game for the pit code. So that's how tight that decision was between them.
Yeah, and I think it proves what we're saying, that there's some questions here about, because what they pitted at 17 to go under caution.
That was about 12 laps ago, actually.
Yeah, that's a lot here. You're going to pace around for a few laps, and then we're going to go 2 laps. So let's talk about it. WINSTEL, green white checker. Once the green falls, we're going 2 laps. There's basically no caution here. And no matter what happens, the admins are going to make them race it out. You're going to come around 2 full laps to take the checkered flag here. So you have to race both laps. I would not be surprised if a couple drivers run out of gas. And man, Jose Solis right into banking like that makes me nervous already.
Already listening through a couple drivers, some are making sure they're in the right gearing. If you run in second gear under the pace laps like some are doing, that's where you burn the gas.
Yeah,
usually you go third to fourth.
You go fourth, you barely put just enough gas pedal in to keep it moving. Some drivers believe in clutching. Some will tell you to turn the ignition on and off. I don't think that in iRacing has much difference in clutching. That was close.
Point of no return is confirmed. This is the final restart of the race from Fontana.
Wow, this is going to be scary, Justin. This is probably not going to finish, in my mind, as clean as the rest of the race has. I don't know. Race admins are reminding these drivers to keep the gaps close on the restart. No big gaps. They don't want any big, massive runs or anything.
You also don't want to end up having it where you end up having a Jimmy Jack situation.
So the question I have for Sean Pellick or Tyler Head, obviously you can't pull out. You cannot get below and pass the leader until the start-finish line. Are you willing to make that move instantly and take the lead? Do you need to save gas and wait until the last possible second? I don't know. Let's find out.
4 miles, 2 laps to decide things in WINSTEL from California. It's Solis Jr., it's Pellick, Head, Nick Doucette, Roberts the top 5. How will they finish out is the question. Our racing pace car is off. 2 more laps to go. Green flag is out. Solis Jr. avoids tire spin. Pellick with a better launch. Pellick to the back bumper.
Well, so far, everyone got a good launch. All right, I got some 2-wide racing here.
Pellick looking to the high side. Solis Jr. preferring the bottom of the racetrack. 3 cars have crashed in the start zone. We stay green since we passed the point of no return. Solis Jr. sees the side-by-side. Head not able to get by Pellick. Pellick looking to regroup, coming to the white flag. Coming down to 2 more miles to decide it from Fontana. Into the wall goes Solis Jr. Here comes Pellick.
That's the move Pellick needed, I think.
Pellick looking to set it up. White flag taken. Final lap from Auto Club. Pellick to the high line. Solis Jr. back inside. Head up the middle. Peleg trying to hammer the gas, nearly spins it around. Can he get to the bumper by turn 3? Solis Jr. by 2 car lengths. Peleg going for one more send. Peleg starting to slow down. Solis Jr. trying to keep it out of the wall. Checker flag waves. Jose Solis Jr. wins it from Fontana. Wow. Peleg in second, Head in third. Nick Doucette and Roberts the top 5 as they crash for the lead after the finish.
There's your celebratory weekly crash, but I can't believe they all made it, Justin. I thought for sure someone was going to run out in front of the field. I really did.
A few cars jumping for joy for the checkered. 32 taking the checker flag. As mentioned, 3 cars did crash in the start zone, but everybody else makes it to the checkered. This is what happened in the start zone off the final restart. Evan Locke involved in this one.
It just looks like he maybe missed a shift. I don't know what happened there to that car. I'm guessing they missed a shift and then just rode it in the wall, and then people... That's the problem with these restart rules, Justin, is you can't move to the inside, and so you're almost forced to run him over in that manner.
That's Shane Ward. This is his first ever WINSTEL start in 2003.
Either shifting problems or blew a tire, and I'm going to go with shifting problems.
Yeah, they at one point actually lost a lap, but gained it back during the pit cycle. How they finish? It looks like this. Jose Solis Jr. unofficially with the win over Peleg, Head, Nick Doucette, and Roberts. Emily Howell, top 6 from 18th starting spot. Kolinick starts off from 4 finishes in 7th. Holzer, Ryan, and Bud, your top 10 from Fontana.
Move on to P11 here. Gabriel Mauricio in 11th with Timothy Latham in 12th. Jonathan Hernandez and Brendan McGee, 13 and 14. Chris Champeau and Anthony Krobach. Then Thomas Lewandowski finished 17th after that 2-tire run. Jacob Bradley, TJ Crampton, and Tyler Murray round out your top 20.
Lots of ice, Bates, Osman, Snipes, and Reepa's the top 25. Ben Hadcock, Russ Leinbach, as well as Kyle Benson back there. Evan Locke, Ryan Doucette, Parker Alexander, and Shane Ward involved in contact. Race finish up the lead lap finishers. Laux-Zyre DNFs with Steve Gouthier, Matt Skipper, also DNFs early in the race, 33 laps down. That's a look at your unofficial race results here on FTFGG for WINSTEL action. Top 3 standing by. Jose Solis Jr. picks up the victory today, dominating, leading just about all the laps today. Second victory of the campaign, the third two-time winner of the season. First of all, how was the car tonight?
The car felt pretty good. I felt like I had good enough short-run speed to hold on so that I could keep my pace up in the long run.
Lots of pressure from Sean Peleg closing in. Before the caution, Peleg was closing in within 3/4 tenths. It becomes down to you two for the victory, essentially, on the final laps of this race. Talk us through that battle for the win.
Yeah, I think I would have had the advantage. I think I would have just taken the bottom there because the top at the end there got really weak because of all the rubber. So I felt like I would have been able to hold them off just by holding the bottom and just not getting loose.
So with that, the next time out, it's 55 laps at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's WINSTEL's short version of the Coke 600. How do you feel about the Charlotte Motor Speedway?
I feel pretty good about Charlotte. I feel like this track and Charlotte have like a lot of similar characteristics. So I feel like since I was faster, I'll be pretty good at Charlotte as well.
Well, congratulations on the victory. You're second of the season. You're the third two-time winner of the season, along with Tower Head and Zach Campbell. Congrats.
Thank you.
Once again, Jose Solis Jr. picking up the W today. Second spot going to Sean Peleg, also known as Sean Pelegson, as he likes to be also called at the same time, in the honor of Jimmy Johnson. He's with Derek Watson.
Well, Sean, P2 today. Nothing to be ashamed of. Before we talk about anything else, I have to know, how close was it on gas coming to the line?
You mean like at the finish?
At the finish, yeah.
I wasn't too close because I I didn't even bother trying to short fuel on the caution. I just took a full tank. It was starting to get close, like coming to the white flag. I got the 5 lap warning, and I started to get worried, but it was fine. Honestly, the scarier fuel was on my first pit stop because I stayed out 2 extra laps. I wasn't even looking at fuel. I come down pit lane. I realize I have like 4/10 of a gallon left.
That's close. We saw you and Jose both try to fake out the field. You ran through the grass basically there on that one caution and try to get the field to pit. Were you just playing mind games to see if anyone would bite?
Honestly, the one having mind games played on them was probably me because I locked in on Jose's bumper and I was doing whatever he was doing. If he stayed out, I was staying. If he went, I was going. And once he pulled away, I had to follow him. I knew I didn't have a choice.
Well, I've heard the groundskeeper has an invoice for you after the race. You might want to look out for that. But overall, a very good race. A great, strong run for the 48 here. Talk to me lastly about how so many lines to race here. Where were you preferring to race? Was it the top, the bottom, the middle? Where were you most happy?
Yeah, so I found the top was really fast, especially in traffic. But as the run progressed, most people were moving up to the third, fourth lane, especially in 1 and 2. I just could never really get that lane working. I mean, I found the same thing last week when Gen 4 Fixed was here, that a lot of people would move up in 1 and 2, and I couldn't really get it to work. I either had to run first seam or against the wall. But I was seeming to make decent time in that first seam. I really wish that run would have gone green to the end because I think I would have had something for Jose, but he was lightning fast. It would have been hard to get him anyway to get by him. He's a great driver, but definitely happy with P2. Can't complain. It's back-to-back P2s now. Little mundane start to the season, but I think we're building some momentum, and I'm not too worried. Hoping Charlotte goes well. Usually I'm kind of quick there.
All right. Well, before I let you go, anyone you want to say hello to or thank you to or anything like that?
Just thanks to everyone at WINSTEL for putting on these races. It's the best league out there. We have such hard racing all the way through the field. I love being able to come in here every Sunday and have a great battle with a lot of great people. So just thank you to everyone who puts all of this on. Brennan, Tyler, Christian, Bud, all the admins, all of them. Love them all.
All right. Well, good job on P2, and we'll see you next week at Charlotte.
Thank you very much. See you there.
Thank you. All right, and I think with that, then JP has caught up with our third place finisher, the driver to 86. That's Tyler Head.
Tyler Head continued to exceed expectations, including his own. Tyler, another top 3, and in contention for the victory once more. How are you feeling?
Feeling really good. I mean, another solid Sunday night, so that's always good to have, and a lot of fun racing up at the front. A lot of good feedback from further back in the field throughout, the mid-pack and even towards the tail end. Had a lot of racing lanes tonight and a lot of power to try to put down. So it was a blast.
Now, the interesting marks involving tonight, a lot of slippy, sliding moments, including for yourself here and there. How difficult was it to handle on this racetrack while making sure you're holding on to it? Because at one point, you actually did pick up a dent from some of the sliding around in the battles.
Yeah, I mean, it was especially at the beginning of the run. I felt like once it sort of got into a groove and everybody sort of got to where they were running and going mano-a-mano with the people that they were racing, a little bit more heads up. It was a bit more straightforward, but on those initial starts and restarts, everybody's on it, and if you make one little mistake getting the power down, you're getting eaten up a lot. And I didn't do a very, very good job of it at any point really tonight. So when it got to the final third of the race, I found myself scrapping with people quite a bit and having to be a bit more aggressive than I would typically like to be, but it mostly worked out, and I appreciate everybody racing as well as they did around me when I was being greedy. But that's just a product of what this racing is in large part because, like I said, any little mistake and you're a sitting duck on these long straightaways in particular. So it was a challenge for sure.
Back to the 1.5 miles next time out, Charlotte Motor Speedway. You've done very well in them. In fact, the last 1.5 miles we raced at, that was in the shape of a quad oval for the front straightaway you won at Texas. How are you feeling about Charlotte Motor Speedway next?
No, I would say I'm optimistic. I mean, with the people that we have consistently showing up right now, I feel like my qualifying pace has been a bit better than it was last year, and that's really contributing to the runs that I'm having this year. So if I can put it all together on the single lap qualifying, I think that sort of opens the door for another solid race in the feature. But none of that's guaranteed. So just try to go out and do the best we can and see what happens.
Well, congrats on the top 3 once again. Another strong run from you.
Thank you.
That's Towerhead rounding out the top 3. I'd like to thank the entire top 3, Jose Solis Jr., Sean Pellick, Towerhead, for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on FTF GG. Next time out, Charlotte Motor Speedway, our version of the Coke 600 for WINSTEL action on May the 7th. Derek, lots of excitement from tonight, but the tempo has to continue for many before we make that final march to the early summer break on May 21st.
That's right. We're almost to that early summer break. Congratulations, Jose Solis Jr., on a night that saw many passes and many lanes being used. This was maybe my favorite race of the year, Justin.
In fact, some of the drivers I was about to say have already spoken forward, saying that they felt it was one of the best races ever in WINSTEL action with these cars. Very fun one indeed for the 45 laps plus here from California. Next time out, as mentioned, May the 7th, Charlotte Motor Speedway, 55 laps on the docket for the mile-and-a-half circuit. Catch that starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on FTF GG. But on that note, it's time to say goodbye for now. For my co-announcer Derek Watson, for producer Zach Johnson, I'm Justin Prince saying so long, rest of your evening.